Hi everyone, my name is Sherry. How much money do we actually save by breastfeeding? Today I'll answer that question for you, and after that I'll answer a bunch of other common breastfeeding questions. So assuming you have to feed your baby formula for 1 year, how much money do you have to spend on that formula? Costco sells Infamil formula by 6 bottles, and it's $150 every 6 bottles. Every bottle makes 300 fluid ounces of milk. A baby needs around 24 fluid ounces of milk a day at least, and there's 365 days a year. So that comes out, for my calculation, that comes out as $730. Now that's my calculation, and it's about like the baseline. According to the Office of the Surgeon General, you save about $1,200 to $1,500 a year. So, if you choose to decide to breastfeed your baby, breastfeed for a year, and then go buy yourself a new iPhone. Now, onto the other questions related to breastfeeding. Before I go into those, I have to preface this by saying that I'm not a specialist, I'm not a professional at all. I can only answer these questions based on my own research and by my own experiences. I have breastfed all 3 of my babies, and I'm still currently breastfeeding my youngest, who is 10 months old now. If you have any questions, definitely go seek out a professional and definitely do your own research. How much milk does a 3-month-old drink every session? So if you're like me, you're going back to work at around when the baby is 3 months old, and you're wondering how much express milk you need to have for your baby when you go back to work. So I asked my pediatrician this question, and she said you can start with around 3 ounces of breast milk and adjust accordingly. So I've done that for all 3 of my babies, and they start off at around 3 months old, and then they'll quickly go to 4. How long should you pump for? So this obviously depends on every person, it's different, but for me it's around 10 to 15 minutes with my double electric pump. How long can you store breast milk at room temperature? So when I took a breastfeeding class before I had my first baby, they said 6 hours at room temperature, 6 weeks in your refrigerator, and 6 months for your freezer. Can you combine breast milk from different pumping sessions? The short answer, yes you can. Can you get pregnant while breastfeeding? This answer, definitely yes. Both my second and my third were conceived while I was still breastfeeding the previous baby. Does your menstrual cycle affect breastfeeding? For me, it does a little bit. I read that your menstrual cycle, because of the hormones, it can affect the taste of the milk, and your baby might or might not notice. My baby didn't notice it at all. They didn't have a preference. My breasts become more tender around when I ovulate, which was awesome when I was trying to conceive my third, because I knew when I was about to ovulate. Can you breastfeed when you're sick? The short answer is yes, most likely you can breastfeed while you're sick, and you should probably do so because it helps protect your baby from the sickness. Can you breastfeed while your baby is sick? The answer to this is also yes. You should breastfeed your baby when he or she is sick. There are obviously exceptions, but for general purpose, you should breastfeed your baby when you're sick. You should breastfeed your baby when he or she is sick. When will your breast milk level out? So this depends on the person, depends on if this is your first pregnancy or your second or your third. But for me, it's around 6 weeks after the baby is born is when my milk kind of levels out. Before then, it's just like full-blown production. It's always a lot of milk for the baby. Can you breastfeed while you're pregnant? Yes, you can still breastfeed while you're pregnant. In fact, you can actually breastfeed until your next baby is born. How does pregnancy affect breastfeeding? So this depends on every person, is different. Every pregnancy is obviously also different. But for me, my own experience is that once I get pregnant, I think maybe because my breast milk tasted different, my baby would just start to wean themselves, and my supply would go down as well. When will my period return when I'm breastfeeding? That totally depends on you, the person, and also it's different every pregnancy. For me, it's about 9 months or 10 months. I have a friend who her period returns like 1 month after she gives birth and she is breastfeeding as well, can you trigger your period to come back? When I was trying to conceive my second, I researched this. Supposedly, you can trick your body by drastically decreasing breastfeeding for a day or so. So if you're pumping, then drastically decrease the number of times you pump during the day. And then if you're breastfeeding, just try to feed the baby some stored milk instead of feeding, nursing, so that you trick your body. Your body kind of thinks that your baby doesn't need milk anymore, and that could trigger your menstrual cycle to start again. I still have a lot of questions to answer, but before that, like this video, subscribe, and if you have any questions of your own or if you want me to elaborate on anything, please comment down below and I'll try to get to them. And stay tuned for the part 2 of these questions. See ya!